So hello everybody, welcome back. I hope that you like this video and that you find it helpful somehow. So anyway, grab your coffee, and if you wanted to share one with me, links for that down below. And yes, I'm in my balcony right now. It was starting to rain, so I couldn't go outside. I wanted to do this video outside in the garden, but it was kind of raining, and then it was very noisy outside, and then I decided to just do it like this. So anyway, um, we're going to be talking about food and tips for saving money and things like this. And so, we are going to be a little bit political today. So sorry about that, but it's a thing, right? And so it might be a little bit of a topic. So yeah, one of the things that you want to know about food is that food isn't about food. One of the things that can make you leave a particular place is famine. But what happens if you want to leave the place that you're in, not because you have lack of food, but rather you have excess of food, but it is not the one that you want? And then I'm kind of like, what do you mean? Well, in the US and in a lot of countries, by the way, there has been so many issues with food that is being printed rather than coming from natural sources. And then if you consider that whenever you are in too much contact with plastic, the hormones in your body will change, and then you will have reproductive issues, and then you will have other issues like metabolic issues and all kinds of things. And you also have issues with messed up genetics for the food that you're consuming. And then you have contamination all over your food, in terms of eating actual parasites and things like that comes from insects and others. And therefore, I mean, it's just insane. And so there is a lot of people that would consider leaving their own country, not because of just economics, but also because of the food. And there is people that will travel to specific places because they love the food there. And the problem is that in order for you to leave your own country, especially if you are in Europe or you are in the US or even Canada, see, if you're in a Latin country, it will be entirely different living, because in here we don't make enough money, and we don't have a system that supports the idea of you living. However, if you are in the US and others, you may actually live kind of easy. And you're thinking, not because we don't have a lot of money and things like this, but what happens if you apply the rules of the game in your favor when you are abroad? Meaning, I have mentioned this before in several videos, that, and I mean data from 20 and 25 years ago, and I do mean 20 years ago. There was a study with statistics, numbers, and everything that said that if citizens from the US wanted to travel and they cash in the rewards that you get when you apply for getting points every time that you use a credit card, meaning, okay, so you have a credit card, and the credit card has a system of points that they can give you cash back, they can give you rewards, they can give you points, or whatever it is. Now, if you actually collected the points and you actually wanted to travel, the whole industry, and I'm talking 20 something years ago, it was worth literally like half of the entire economy of the entire planet or something like that. It was insane. The numbers were completely insane. And the reason is that these numbers are passive numbers. And try to imagine how many credit cards do people have in the US, in Canada, and in Europe? And let's say that you have an average of, I don't know, let's say that you have 7 credit cards per person. And let's say that you have, I don't know, let's say 2,000 points for each credit card. That is 14,000 points. Let's say that you cash in those for plane tickets or whatever it is that you want to get, either cashback or hotel coupons or other stuff, other prices. And the amount that you get is enough to travel the world several times. Not per person, but it is like they did numbers kind of like for one citizen for every 10. And so the numbers were astonishing. And recently I saw a video of a woman that left the US precisely because she could not afford food. The food was a problem because it tasted not natural. And she has a kid and she wanted to leave the US because she lived below the poverty line. And the way that she did it was by applying the points through a very long time, meaning she collected points throughout a certain period of time, and then she was able to trade those for plane tickets, and then she paid only a fraction of the cost of the trips. And everything that she got it in the credit cards, both from her and her husband. And then she was able to accomplish that, and now she is in Asia. And she is having a good time because she's eating fresh. And she is so happy because of the food that she is consuming. And she was talking about the living cost, as in the cost of food in other countries, the cost of rents in other countries, the cost of electricity, internet, and other things in other countries. And if you do remote work and you are in other countries and you are making the same $2,000, yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I agree with her like 1,000 times over. If I was doing or making $2,000, I swear to God, I would probably be living like a freaking queen, and I could probably hire private tutoring for my daughter and doing so many freaking things, like even going to a spa once a week, okay, if I had $2,000 in income. So in other countries, the amount of money that you spend on food, especially fresh food like fruits and vegetables and things like this, is insane compared to the US. And even if you were to get fresh food in the US, lately the ones that you get in the supermarkets are actually filled with chemicals and plastics and all kinds of contaminants that are just not worth it. And so this is a problem, okay? Because if you eat food that it is that bad, then it will also lead you to health problems later on, one way or another one. And so I'm here to tell you that if you worry about not being able to, keep up with the cost of food and things like this, I'm going to tell you several things. Number one, you can save $2, $3, $4, $5 per meal every time that you're trying to change recipes and things like this, but you are compromising time or whatever it is so that you can make it work. You can make it work. But here's the deal. What happens if you are saving that on a daily basis and then you are spending more time into buying the ingredients, a lot of things. But the worst part is that no matter how much money you save on the food, if you have another hole in your kitchen budget or your house budget, like for example, things start breaking because there are problems with the electricity, or now you have the kids that are wandering around in your house and then you break the jar. They break the things that are in the kitchen because they don't know how to use them. They accidentally started using the microwave with something metal on it and now it burned down, or they destroy the thing because it has a lot of buttons in it. And electronic equipment is just insane. It will break way, way, way faster than you are thinking. And now you have to replace it. And it's a $200 toaster. For the same price, you could have gotten an electrical toaster, which is just you pressing the button on, off, that's it. Is not electronic or anything like that, and it cost you $20. But because you wanted to look cool, now you want to have an intelligent house and a house that is level 7. And when that house is level 7, the food and the kitchen and the appliances and everything else is going to cost you, if you are in the US, it's probably going to cost you $5,000 on average, in terms of electricity, repairs, replacements, updates, internet usage, and all kinds of things, which basically means that you're going to be a slave of that particular system. Because the more that you depend upon technology, the more expensive it is going to be, because now the toaster requires a memory because it is being updated and you have no idea why will you need a toaster that needs updates. And why will you need to have a 3D printer for food in your kitchen? And how much for the food cartridges? And are you sure that that thing is actually like edible? And I mean, I'm sure it's edible, but you know what I mean. And then oh God. So if you can barely afford things now, try to imagine when they force everyone to have houses that are that type of level. Well, you could just be in another place, cooking traditional ways and eating from even your local community garden or your local market, and it is so cheap and it is fresh. And each country will have their own problems with food. I'm not saying that all the other countries are kind of like a paradise or something like that. It's not. The only country that is probably like a paradise in terms of food and everything else is Japan. And maybe South Korea or something like that. But other than that, fake food is a big problem. And then plastic food is even worse. And then the insect that they are placing into your food is also a big problem. And so contamination with the water, the soil, the air is just insane in a lot of places, but in some places it's more than others. And so, see, now it's raining. And so at this point, you want to try to see what is it that you can do about it. Are you going to stay in this system that you're in, or are you going to try to collect points and then figure out if you can get enough points and things like this so that you can save a little bit of the money and then you can move out. If you're thinking that you can never, I'm thinking, I'm from a Latin country, so we all want to go to the US. However, getting the visas for the US and the paperwork for the US, and there is so many restrictions about going to the US right now. But if you were to travel to Asia, that will be better. And if you were to travel to Europe, that will also be better. Each region will have different type of advantages and disadvantages. And if you're going to consider all of that, then it is... Anyway, I got interrupted. So, like I was saying, you may want to consider the idea that if you're trapped in a place that you don't want to be, and you're thinking that that is the best place just because everyone is trying to get in that place, yeah, it's kind of like there are places that are worse than yours. That doesn't mean that there aren't places that are better than yours. See what I mean? But from a Latin perspective, we don't have credit card points with systems that are like that. We don't make $2,000 per month. In fact, I think the highest minimum wage salary is probably around $400. And so even if you were to work for a very long time, you won't be able to afford a plane ticket. However, if you are saving money from the US where you are making, I don't know, let's say $1,500, it's not the same. And so, yes, you have more expenses and all of those things, but you might want to consider the idea, if you are not going to be able to come up with a plan, political plan, to change the course of the food that you are taking. Because each generation will get worse and worse and worse food. And if you are having trouble now, try to imagine your kid when he goes to the supermarket and what they sell to him or her is cartridges. And then if you cannot afford right now food and rent, try to imagine what your kid is going to do when there is no source of food anywhere other than the one provided by the freaking cartridges, because every single person that you meet will have a house that is level 7 and is an intelligent house, and it is costing you $5,000 even though that the minimum wage is $2,000. And so, yeah, you might need to reconsider all of these problems. And so either you get involved into the politics and you get involved into solving the problem with the politicians and the companies and the laws and all kinds of things, or you seriously think about going to places that they have level 2 houses and therefore they have level 2 kitchens, and then the kitchens go kind of like you do everything by hand, and yes, it takes a long time, but everything is fresh and the quality of the food is better and the taste is also better and is cheaper, and the services that you are being provided with, as in housing and other things, are way cheaper, and you can still afford all of those things if you keep the same level of income that you get in the US. So for example, you could ask your company to give you the same job but do it online. And if you're working online, then you can live in another country with no problems whatsoever, because you are with the same income and the same level. And so the expenses are not nearly the same. The taxes and all kinds of things are not the same, okay? And so I just wanted to take a look at that topic, and I will talk to you soon.